Fox. We begin with a confrontation with Houston police that left one person dead in Houston's Cashmere Gardens neighborhood. Tonight, that man's family says there is more to the story. Fox 26's Karis Belger is live with details of what happened. Karis.
Yeah, police have been here for hours since It started as a 911 call about a suspicious person on Wayne Street in the Cashmere Gardens neighborhood. According to Houston police, officers encountered a man they say was armed.
Officers set up a perimeter and gave the suspect verbal commands to drop his weapon. Right behind me, there's a blue Connex box, and that's where this shooting took place. So as the officers were continuing to give him verbal commands to drop his weapon, the suspect raised his weapon.
During that encounter, an officer fired their weapon at the man, later identified by his family as 29-year-old Larry Maify Jr. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Other relatives arrived shortly after, many of them in tears.
I don't know who called the police, but I wish they would have just let him know that he had this mental disorder, you know.
Maify's father, Larry Maify Sr., says his son's struggles with mental health are what led to the tragedy Sunday afternoon, adding that despite those struggles, his son was working to get his life back on track.
I just want that part to be known about him, and that he was not just your everyday criminal. If you would have known him, he was the biggest friend you could ever have. He was very compassionate, tried to help out in every kind of way he could.
And that investigation continues tonight. Houston police have not identified the officer who was involved, and body camera footage should be available in the next 30 days. For Fox 26 News, I'm Karis Belger.
We are hearing from neighbors and Harris County Sheriff's deputies about a shooting that killed a couple in the Katy area this morning. Fox 26's Leslie Delismore is there on Bent Spring Lane with what we know so far. Leslie.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. It was a very tragic morning for families and neighbors here in this Katy neighborhood after a husband and wife were found dead in their home. The husband and wife are both 52 years old, and it all happened just at this home behind me here. But investigators are still trying to piece together if this was a double homicide or a murder-suicide. But here's what we know. Investigators say the couple's children in their 20s and a 7-year-old foster child were inside the home at the time and woke up to the sound of gunfire, and they found the couple dead. This all happened around 5 this morning at the home on Bent Springs Lane. Now, when deputies arrived, they found the husband and wife shot inside the home. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says the husband and wife were found in separate rooms, one in the kitchen area and one in the living room area. Now, we talked with a neighbor who said they didn't really know the family too well, but described the husband as kind and are saddened by what happened. Take a listen.
They were asleep and they were awakened by shots, and then they ran down and found both parents obviously deceased inside the residence. Previous calls for service here involving an ex of the female, so we're going to be investigating that as well. We're not saying that person's involved in any way, or again that there's that this is a double homicide or anything. We simply don't know at this point. So we've got to conduct a thorough scene investigation until we have better information. It's got to just take it, step by step. We'll see if there's anything. Nobody has said anything about anything being forced or anything like that so far. But again, we'll double check and make sure we're not missing anything.
He was very friendly. We didn't have a personal relationship, just in passing. Very kind, spoke. We are familiar with the young child because she comes and plays with our daughter. But that's about all we know about him.
Yeah, just a friendly guy. Ever since we moved in, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, he's one of the first neighbors around to just be friendly. See him every morning walking his dog, just a friendly guy. I hate to see that happen to him.
First we saw the crime scene tape, so we were just like, what's going on? But just shocked because this is a quiet neighborhood, very, very quiet. It's a little unsettling not knowing whether this was a domestic thing or an outside type of situation. So until we get word on that, it's going to be a little, worrisome. But we have been reassured that it doesn't seem as though this is like a random thing. It might have been more so targeted.
Now, investigators did say deputies have been called to the couple's home before because of an ex of the deceased wife, but at this time they are still investigating if this was a double homicide or a murder-suicide. Reporting live in West Harris County, Leslie Dulles for Fox 26 News.
Another important story here. A skimmer was discovered at a Houston gas station near Bush Airport. A customer reached out to Fox 26 saying when heading to work just yesterday, he stopped to get some gas along JFK Boulevard and found the skimmer. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman spoke with the customer who wants to warn others.
I thought it would be something that would be obvious. It's not. It's not. You really, when I went to put it back on and take it off, I had trouble taking it back off. That's how uniform it was with it.
Can you walk me through what happened when you showed up at this gas station near the airport?
Came up, was gonna pay for some gas, and noticed that it was a little loose right here. So we tugged on it, pulled it out, and it looked similar to what you see right here. And so I knew that it wasn't actually attached to it, so I took it inside, let the owner know, the owner notified police, and then they went from there. I was grateful that I didn't slide my card yet, you know what I mean? I was very grateful that I didn't slide my card.
What gave it away?
Well, it was
there something off about it?
Well, it was actually a little loose, you know what I mean? Sticking out a little bit, but you can't really tell that they're sticking out. It looked just like this. I went to put it back on to make sure that I didn't break it, and it looked just like it. So the lights were actually lit up green on the other device because it was see-through. So when he slid it on there, it looked just like that. You could not tell the difference at all. You know what I mean? So this right here is actually something they put on there to prevent, and so that way people can actually notice it and see that it's been tampered with, but you couldn't actually tell on that day.
So you reached out to Fox 26 wanting to warn others. What's that warning you would like to share?
So I feel like I think we need to take be more cautious, because this isn't just at this gas station. This is going on everywhere in Houston. You know what I mean? So I recommend that you tap your card or make your way inside if you're skeptical about something like this. This can happen to anybody at any gas station. This isn't actually going to stop me from coming here. I believe this can happen anywhere, so I'd rather come here because they're aware of this, and now they're doing daily inspections on their pump. So yes.
And that's your message, that this can happen anywhere, and just to triple check when you go to the pump.
Yes, just triple check.
Yeah, that was Jillian Hartman here reporting for us tonight. Now, the gas station owner said that they reported the incident to authorities, and right now we are working to get some more details about the future of that. And tonight, Houston police are asking for your help after releasing new images tied to an incident at a Texans game that happened back in December, where investigators say a man approached a child inside of a restroom at NRG Stadium. That now former Aramark worker is in custody, charged with indecency with a child. Fox 26's Karis Belger spoke with the child's parents and has the latest.
It's a wave of emotions. It's up and down. There's a lot that we still have to deal with in regard to the criminal, civil, just everything, the recovery on our son's part, but day by day.
A wave of emotion comes and it goes.
These parents say that wave started December 14th during a Texans game at NRG Stadium. Court documents say Uche Marquise Nixon approached their 8-year-old son inside a restroom during the game and directed him into a stall, then asked him to remove his clothing. That child got away. The parents tell Fox 26 a nearby witness then approached the child's mother, saying the interaction, quote, didn't look right. That witness's concern is what prompted the family to start looking for the person described and alert police. Officers say Nixon was working for Aramark at the time. He was taken into custody and is charged with indecency with a child. But this family says the damage is done.
It's something that we now carry with us forever, because we look at every public situation differently now.
Court documents say Nixon was working for Aramark at the time. The company sent a statement saying it's aware of what it calls a very disturbing situation and that Nixon is no longer employed with the company. They're also cooperating with the investigation.
And Anthony, Houston police say any information from the public can be helpful, especially as they continue to move forward with this investigation.
Yeah, it's a very concerning story here for sure, Kara. So now, have you heard anything from NRG Stadium themselves?
We reached out. They did send us a statement, and in it they basically said they work closely with law enforcement and its contracted partners to maintain a secure environment for all of their events.
I think any parent watching that story, you're the hairs on your arm kind of stick up, because that's very concerning anytime you go to a game like that. Karis, thank you so much for that report. All right, 4 headline-grabbing defendants profiled in breaking bond reports have all been sentenced to prison. Now, will they be behind bars for long? That's the question. Randy Wallace joining us here tonight with the latest in his ongoing series.
One of the defendants we profiled is an ex-law officer who was charged with murder and picked up several felony charges while out on bond. What happened to him?
So he's out on bond for $200,000 for murder, picks up 5 felony charges, and then they cut a deal. He ends up getting sentenced to 35 years in prison. He'll be parole eligible in 17 years, so he ain't going to be breathing free air for a long time.
Another defendant we profiled, Sandy Broussard. Lengthy criminal history. She was actually on parole when she picked up a number of criminal charges, many involving elderly victims. What happened to her?
So she's on parole, 26 years, engaging in organized criminal activity, and her cohort involving in funeral scams, scamming elderly people out of their life savings. So they cut a deal with her. She got 20 years, which basically gets lumped into the 26 years, and parole eligible next year, 2027.
2 defendants, both 20 years old. They lead police on a high-speed chase. They're out on numerous bonds. What happened to those 2?
So in Ybarra and Mesa, out on multiple bonds, out on multiple probations, could have killed people in a police chase. You want to talk about an ultimate sweetheart deal? They had 9 felony cases dismissed on Ybarra in lieu of the 1 conviction. 10 felonies on Mesa dismissed in lieu of the 1 conviction. Both of them got a whopping 5 years in prison. Both of them are parole eligible in 2027.
3 out of the 4 defendants that we profiled already sentenced, but already eligible for parole.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of blew me away, because I was expecting, sometime, at least a few years, but you're looking at next year. They could conceivably be released on parole and right back to the community, reoffending again.
Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
And this is in West Houston, where we told you just moments ago a car crashed into a house. Denise Middleton just arrived there to the scene. As police are still there, Denise, investigating?
That's right. The owner tells us it sounded like a bomb at the time and that she felt the house shake when the crash happened. This is the car that the teenage boys were driving. It's a blue Hyundai Elantra with a sticker on the trunk that says, "Don't text, don't drive." Now you can see where they hit the edge of the house here. This is where the owner's bedroom is located. She says she was inside with her mom at the time. Luckily, she was not in her bedroom, but she did tell us that she actually saw multiple teenage boys jump out and run away. There is currently a perimeter set up to find the teens, and we are told that there were no reports of any injuries, but you can see just how badly the car was damaged, the impact. So they had to have been, traveling pretty fast based on the damage here on this scene. But the house did not sustain too much damage, because it looks like they were able to just, hit that side because of this metal posting. And the homeowner tells us a similar situation like this happened 11 years ago, which is why they put this metal posting here. But again, they have not found the teens yet, we're told, but we'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we learn more. This home located on Cornelian Drive, we're told. And so there were reports that they may have gone to a nearby bayou, but we haven't gotten that confirmed yet. Of course, we'll continue to gather some more details and bring you the very latest. Reporting live from Southwest Houston, Denise Middleton, Fox 26 News.
Denise, while we still have you, real quick, did you get a number of how many teens were in the car? I was hearing it was 6. Was that clarified yet?
Mm-hmm. We were hearing that number as well. We haven't gotten a chance to speak with police, but the homeowner tells us that she saw 5 boys jump out of the car and run away. But again, we'll talk to police here in a moment and see if we can get all that confirmed. And as you can see, they're towing the car away right now.
Yeah. Okay. Denise Middleton live on the west side as that investigation continues. Denise, thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you that deputies say a 70-year-old sex offender is charged for harboring a 17-year-old boy who ran away from CPS custody. Here's what we know. Now, this all started from an anonymous tip sent through the Harris County Precinct 2 website. Precinct 2 deputies say the tip claimed a 70-year-old registered sex offender, Michael Williams, was living with an underage boy at the apartment complex near Hobby Airport. Williams told deputies a 17-year-old boy was was staying there with him. And to learn more, deputies say they entered the teen's information into a national database. And that's when they learned the teen was actually listed as missing through Child Protective Services. Deputies say the child has been missing since November 2025. We spoke with investigators about how the teen got to Houston. Take a listen.
He was ultimately in CPS's custody. I believe he was in a group home where the, I guess, parents or whoever is in charge of the group home said, I don't want you here no more. So the male juvenile went to work, made a phone call, and got picked up and left. So while interviewing, I asked him, I said, hey, how do you know this male? He said, well, I know his father. Okay, how long have you known his father? He's like, I've known him for years. I said, okay, how long have you known the juvenile? So I've known him for about a year. So moving forward, I asked him, like, okay, well, how did he get from Belleville to Houston? He said, well, he called me, so I want to go pick him up. For a while, just having a cordial conversation with the juvenile to figure out more information on the circumstances. The juvenile openly admitted that the defendant did know that he was a runaway, and that he said, hey, CPS shouldn't be looking for you anymore because you're almost 18 years old. So the defendant did have knowledge, which is a key factor of harboring a runaway. As a reasonable adult that should know to report this to law enforcement, given that he is missing and that someone is looking for him. To see something, say something is ultimately the best thing you can do. The smallest information can lead to some of the biggest arrests. And also, the sex offender website is public, so you can figure out who is living around you. You can be your next door neighbor and you just never know. Sex offenders have to register once a year, so the information is pretty accurate.
As of now, Williams is out on bond, and his next court hearing is this Friday. Reporting near Hobby Airport, Lizzie Delaspore, Fox 26 News.
Tonight, we want to start with some news here locally. A mother is pleading for some help here tonight after her 21-year-old son was shot and killed in Humble over the weekend. Jillian Hartman joining us now. And, you know, Jillian, police are looking for now multiple gunmen.
Yeah, there are multiple gunmen still on the run. The 21-year-old was actually shot to death in his truck in a neighborhood street in Humble. And right now, the family is begging for the public's help.
We need justice for Adam. Those people need to be held accountable.
The family of 21-year-old Adam Panetta is pushing for justice after he was shot and killed over the weekend. His family made this memorial where the shooting occurred. It happened around 4 p.m. Saturday along Visadale Drive in Humble. Deputies say they found Panetta shot in the driver's seat of his truck. Authorities spoke with witnesses and say they are now looking for 4 to 5 men last seen wearing dark clothing, with several wearing ski masks. Detectives believe robbery could be a possible motive.
Even if it was random, to have planned it out and hid yourself behind bushes and ambush somebody, it was, premeditated.
I just can't see anyone personally knowing him and wanting to take his life. He was honestly just such a kind and loving person.
Adam's mom says she won't rest until she finds out who killed her son. This is her message to the public.
You're all I have. I need you guys right now. I need people to please to bring any information they may have, even maybe as little as can be. Anything could help right now.
Hey, your heart goes out to that family. So let's get back to Jillian here with a follow-up question. Does the family know exactly what Adam was doing, though, when the shooting occurred?
Well, I'm told that he was in the neighborhood hanging out with his friends, and then the shooting actually happened minutes from his mother's house. So they have a lot of questions right now as deputies investigate. If you have any information on this case, you are urged to call the Harris County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers.
Well, those cars were all damaged here in the parking lot of this Williams-Sonoma, and the crash, and right before that crash happened, officers were already pursuing a known car thief, they say. Now, it started, according to officers, when the car was coming from the opposite direction of oncoming traffic down Westheimer Road. That car then hopped the curb and drove into the parking lot where I am standing. That is when that car hit 2 others. Those other cars crashed into other vehicles because of the force of that crash, but that's not where it ended. The person driving that car, despite the condition, drove through the other end of this parking lot and out into the street, with officers continuing to pursue them. Now, police say that they stopped to make sure that no one was physically hurt and then continued to pursue the suspect. Those were officers with the West Side Gang Unit and Auto Theft Division, who, again, were already tracking a suspect earlier today, and they were in unmarked vehicles. Now, investigators say the suspect realized that the police were onto them after that suspect was driving dropped off at a nearby parking garage. When they saw the green light, saw the officers were following them, that is when they took off. Now, officers then tell us that they were able to catch up with that suspect later on, and he has now been taken into custody. A second suspect was taken during a felony traffic stop. And now police say the driver involved now faces felony evading, felony theft, and felony criminal mischief. Now, police say one of the main things here is the heavy traffic in the area. They wanted to make sure that suspect did not get on the freeway because more damage than what happened in this parking lot could have taken place there. So they tried to make sure that this did not take place on the freeway. But even then, there was still extensive damage to multiple cars here. We did watch 2 of them get towed away, and they were quite expensive. I saw a Mercedes and a BMW get towed away earlier today. The people who were here were very upset, but they were not hurt. But as you can understand, very shocked because a casual afternoon just shopping turned into something that was much more than they bargained for. In the Highland Village Shopping Center, I'm Karis Belger, Fox 26.
At Karis, a lot of people walk around that area. I'm just glad no pedestrians were hit while they were just trying to have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, definitely.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Anthony Antoine. A deadly officer-involved shooting under investigation here tonight in Channelview. 2 sheriff's deputies shot and killed a man who they say fired at them first. Fox 26's Randy Wallace joining us live from Channelview tonight with the latest. Randy.
Yeah, Anthony. Now, the fatal shooting happened at 3:47 this afternoon here at the dead end of this trailer park at Ridland near Sheldon Road. Now, according to the Sheriff's Department's preliminary investigation, the dead suspect claimed to be a police officer. When the 2 deputies arrived, a woman who lives at the dead end of the trailer park told them a man about 50 years old that she didn't know was acting suspicious and said he was a police officer.
Deputies arrived on scene and made contact with the male, requesting official identification, which he was unable to provide. The male became increasingly evasive and suspicious, and at one point stepped back and produced a handgun. Preliminary information indicates that the male fired at the deputies, who returned fire and took cover.
Now, CPR was administered on that suspect right now, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. He has not been identified, but sheriff's investigators say they do not believe he was any kind of police officer. Neither sheriff's deputy was injured. One is 37 years old and has been with the sheriff's department for 13 years. The other is 40 years old and has been with the sheriff's department for 4.5 years. Obviously, this investigation is continuing. Reporting live from Channelview, Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
Developing story at 9:15 here tonight. So a viral TikTok challenge is raising concerns here in Houston. You're looking at some of the video here, and authorities say kids were caught on camera, you see, kicking the front door of this home, and then they run away. This is happening again in the Heights. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman spoke with the homeowner and deputies about why this trend could really have some serious consequences.
Hi, you are currently being recorded.
The homeowner, Landon Coker, shared this surveillance video with Fox 26, saying a kid with a hoodie kicked in his front door along Arlington Street on Sunday around 6 p.m., then ran off with a group of kids.
I heard the bang, and then the door flies open, and I see the edge of the door slamming against the wall. I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and my wife is pregnant, so my first thought was like, okay, someone's coming in my house. And then I was really confused and upset whenever I saw that it was kids. If you're ding-dong ditching, you're perceived as an annoyance. If you're kicking a door, you're perceived as a threat.
Authorities say this is part of a nationwide trend on TikTok known as the Door Kick Challenge,
where they're coming up in a group and they have hoodies on and they're actually going up to random doors and kicking the door, the front door, as if they're doing a home invasion. And it's incredibly dangerous to do that. It's horrible. In fact, a kid was shot doing a ding-dong ditch last year.
New surveillance videos show the group of kids in the Heights neighborhood. Constable Alan Rosen for Precinct 1 says it seems like a harmless prank, but it can turn dangerous, and he's warning kids not to participate.
Trying to kind of warn parents to have a talk with your children of the dangers and the perils of this kind of challenge. I think these things are silly, and it could have deadly consequences.
Yeah, it can have deadly consequences. You guys, Jillian's here in the studio, and you know, Jillian, have deputies caught any of these kids? And then if the kids are caught, what are the consequences? Because the actions have consequences.
So right now, deputies are looking for those kids, and they tell me that there could be serious consequences. They could actually face criminal mischief because they actually caused damage to the door. So if you have any information on this case, you're encouraged to call the Harris County Constable Precinct 1.
Yeah, and all the kids out there, families, to have this conversation with your kid, because like
Certainly.
you mentioned, this could be deadly, and we've seen a situation like this play out in our community already.
Yeah, I covered that story. It was tragic.
Yeah, super tragic. All right, Jillian, thank you so much. Well, the woman accused of stealing the story of a Camp Mystic victim and then creating multiple fundraisers, all linked to her personal bank account, is now in custody in Florida. Fox 26's Angie Rodriguez joining us in studio with the charges she is now facing in Harris County. Angie.
Yeah, she's facing 2 felony counts of online impersonation for pretending to be the father of one of the camp counselors who died in the flooding in Kirk County just a couple of months ago. On your screen is 28-year-old Maitland White. She was arrested this morning in Florida by the U.S. Marshals, and according to court documents, she created a spot fund and GoFundMe account linked directly to her bank account, posing as the father of Chloe Childress, that 19-year-old on your screen, a camp counselor who died in the flooding at Camp Mystic. Now, the documents also say that detectives spoke with White about the fundraisers, and she admitted to creating the accounts, saying she made them because she had 2 young children and needed a quick way to make money.
Go get a job. Go find a job. There's a lot of resources, both I know here in Harris County and in Florida, that you can get if you need some assistance. But the last thing that you should ever even contemplate is doing something connected to such a tragedy like this. I made a promise and a commitment to people, especially to the Childress family, that we would bring this person to justice. So I didn't care if she lived in Florida or lived out of the country. We were going to get her. And as promised, we did. We contacted our friends and the U.S. Marshals, Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force in Florida. They picked her up. They actually had to kick in her door. She wasn't cooperative, and actually brought her to jail. She has subsequently picked up a battery case in Florida, so that case has got to be resolved and dealt with prior to her being extradited to Harris County, where she can face justice here.
And like you just heard, White is currently facing a battery charge in Florida. After that case concludes, she'll be extradited back here to Harris County. So we'll continue to keep you updated. In the studio, Angie Rodriguez, Fox 26 News.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. So let's go to TikTok to start here tonight, see what you guys think. Trisha says mental health and greed is real. Manda, that's terrible. Who does that? That's a really good question. Aerial drone photography, lock her up. Lisa, people do anything for money these days. What's going to happen to her kids? That is a good question. Cape Cod Karen asked, we're not sure. She did mention and confess to police that she did this because she had 2 kids and she was trying to get a quick couple of dollars here. What will happen to them? That is a great question. We're not too sure. Again, as well, we got the chat going here in the text. Again, for those of you watching, you can send me a text message as well, the number at the top of your screen. Let's read 1 or 2 of those here really quickly. One person says, seriously, jail is not enough punishment for her, right? And again, Camp Mystic, we lost so many young girls here in that tragedy, and now we see someone looking to capitalize off of that. Another person says, why do people think they will not get caught? Unreal to prey on the actual victims. I would have to agree with you on that one. All right, you guys, let's keep the show going. Again, the number at the top of your screen if you guys would like to send us a text message. And here we go. Local authorities say there's been a recent uptick in scam text messages similar to the one you see here, and it's targeting bank customers. And in some cases, victims have lost their entire life savings. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman covered this story for us today before she got rerouted and sent to that breaking news.
Deputies at Harris County Constable Precinct 4 say they are seeing more fake bank alert messages just like this one, created to trick victims into replying or clicking a link, which allows scammers to steal banking information.
So what they're doing is they're spoofing the bank number and then spoofing a text that looks pretty real from the actual bank, and they're sending that text to you, the victim. And the victims usually think, okay, this is legit. They probably alerting you of a fraud alert that's happening right now. So it's putting you in an old moment that, hey, I'm gonna have to respond. And their goal is for either you to give more information or for you to click on that link that's there that looks very real, but that link is probably gonna be a tool they use to get into your phone.
Authorities believe scammers are also using AI to trick victims.
They're using AI just to make it sound better. And when you get a text message that's alerting you of fraud and it sounds very real.
And what's the overall message to bait customers, as you have, like you said, seen an increase in this in recent weeks?
Correct. Since we've seen an increase, just protect yourself. Protect yourself by not replying to these messages. Protect yourself by not clicking on any of the links that look real.
Authorities say responding puts you in the scammer's system, and they will continue to contact you and try to manipulate by impersonating your bank. Also, do not share account numbers, PINs, or verification codes.
Good evening, you guys. I'm Jade Fleury. Tom is off. We are glad to have you with us, and we begin with a shooting in Northeast Houston that killed one teen and sent another to the hospital in critical condition. Fox 26's Angie Rodriguez has the story.
Yeah, Jade, we were told that those teens are between 15 and 16 years old, and Houston police say everything happened at the parking lot of this apartment complex here behind me off of North Wayside near Tidwell. HPD says this originally started as some type of transaction. Homicide investigators did tell us that they found 4 to 5 bags of marijuana in one of the cars involved in this incident. HPD says the teens met at the parking lot of the North Forest Trails apartments. At some point, officers say the teens were shot by someone in a vehicle. They say they received that call around 11:30 this morning. That possible drive-by vehicle then, in an attempt to flee, crashed. And then officers on scene say, though, this shooting is not connected to the others that happened earlier this morning.
We aren't aware of anything. Unfortunately, in this city, as large as it is, we do get gunfire throughout the city quite often. We aren't linking the gunfire heard at 1 a.m. to the gunfire heard today around 11:30. Two totally separate incidents as far as we know.
They have since towed that vehicle away here off of North Wayside, and at last check, one of those teens did die in the hospital, while the other is currently undergoing surgery and in critical condition. We'll continue to update you as we learn more, both on air, online, and on Fox Local. Angie Rodriguez, Fox 26 News.